Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Dialogue with the Youth Show on Gunjur Online TV. Today again is Wednesday on the 10th of March 2021. The time in UK is just about 7:30. The Eastern time is about nearly 2:30 or just above 2:30. Thank you once again to all our listeners. We are back again, and we have a very, 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 very commanding figure fighting for women in the Gambia. The indescribable burden and the ignorance and the discrimination and the abuse of our women is staggering. And one man or one woman who stood against many is take the part to fight for the women cause, for fight for our mothers and our sisters. Before we go, I think the moderator will help us to play some glimpse into what she does in this special International Women's Day celebration or month, because it was on the 8th. That was the very day. But throughout March, we're going to celebrate our mothers and our sisters and our wives.
Happy International Women's Day. Definitely 8 March ëllëg ñu ngi continuer di ñaan jàmm di continuer di ñaan itamit li ma dee wax jigéen yëpp ëllëg government bi lañ ko seexol parce que buñ ne International Women's Day mooy itamit ñu taxaw laaj suñ government si yan plans lañ am pour aar jigéen yi, lan plans lañ am pour taxaw jigéen yi, xeex li nga xam ne mooy àq ak yelleefi jigéen yi, yan plans dañ am pour jàppale jigéen ñi parce que buñ ne gender based violence lu ci gën a bari jigéen ñi ñooy victims. Kon yan plans la government am pour jàppa si xeex boobu noonu pour génne fi li nga xam ne mooy gender based violence mooy all forms of violence against women. Kon ëllëg ñu ngi ñaax government bi ne leen ñu ngi leen di xaar pour ñu génn wax ñu li nga xam ne mooy seen plans ci li ñoo continuer di gën a dooleel jigéen ñi gën a xeex li nga xam ne mooy àq ak yelleefi jigéen ñi. di gërëm itamit nag suñ càmmeñ yi, suñ papa yi, suñ jëkkër yi, suñ brothers yi, ñoom ñi nga xam ne ñoom itamit wax dëgg bàyyi ñu wéet si xeex bi parce que understand nañ the value of a woman ak lan la jigéen mun a contribute si society. Kon ñu ngi leen a wax yéen itamit jërëjëf si taxawaay bi parce que xam nañ ne xeex bi wéetuñu si, am na ñoo xam ne definitely ñu ngi ñuy si jàppale bu baax a baax. Di wax nag suma mbokki jigéen yi yëpp foo leen munti di nekk si àdduna si Happy International Women's Day. Continue to challenge, continue to empower, continue to support your fellow women. Gis nga bu ñu booloo rek ñu ne neen ay jigéen taxaw lu ñu songa daan ko. Kon dama leen a ñaax rek ñu gën a continuer si unity bi. Réeroo munta am waaye nañuy continuer saa yu nekk rek as jigéen pour di waxtaan si suñ biir ndax ñu mun a gën a taxawu wante, ndax ñu gën a mun a jàppante, ndax ñu gën a mun a xeex li nga xam ne mooy suñ àq ak pour yelleef pour ëllëg xale yi nga xam ne ñooy ñëw xeex bi ñoom bu mu nekk sax loo xam ne ñoom dinañ ko xalaat, ñoom dañuy jëlee feneen rek continuer mu gën a rafet gën a jëm kanam. Kon Happy International Women's Day to all of you out there. Leen nañu yal nañu continuer di gis jàmm, di ko dégga, di ko ñaanal àdduna si yëpp jàmm, di ñaan itamit suñ njaboot gi ëllëg yal na ñu màggee si society boo xam ne duñ xalaat sa waxi empowerment because dafay nekk loo xam ne dañ koy dunda. Loolu la ñuy ñaan. Kon ñu ngi leen a wax yéen ñëpp Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you so much, our intellectual giant in the name of Mama Linguere Sarr, a human rights professional, communication expert and political pundit, social and gender activist, compendium of activism, from left to right in the Gambia, because he is in for everything, even, in the cause of men, sometimes he lambasted us, hugely, but he fights. He's one of the towering giants who was involved in the fight against the kleptocratic dictator of Jammeh. And now he's all over the place fighting for the right of the vulnerable. Thank you and welcome to Dialogue with the Youth. So, Mama Linguere Sarr. Thank you, sister. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me and for having me here. I am very humbled by the invitation, and I look forward to our discussion today. Like I said, you are a hero in your own right, a survivor in your own right, and I continue to be in awe of your tenacity and your determination to continue to contribute so productively to society, despite all the challenges and everything else. So, these are the sort of youth that I always say that you give us a lot of hope for the future of the Gambia. And I am grateful to be here today with you to talk about some of the issues that we continue to challenge and we continue to try and support.
Yeah, thank you, sister. We are humble on behalf of Gunjur Online and with our management and the technicians behind the scene, and we are flattered that we have you anyway. I was scared to even invite you to come to this platform, not for anything else, but your towering status, your stand to fight for Gambia, because we need to respect you. We have to respect you. We are all from mothers, and we have sisters. We have wives and daughters. If we cannot do it, to see somebody fighting, even though it's difficult journey, and then we are all privy to those things. But our respect and our heart goes for you. Before we go into the program, today is International Women Day. We have to reflect, but reflection, we have to celebrate, some of the women, or all our women, our mothers, in the Gambia, the entrepreneurs, the media owners, the media chiefs, are now women. Few years ago, it was on a no-go area for a woman to own a media house, and the entrepreneurs, the fantastic, the Gambian Women Life Matters campaigns, the Treasure Women campaigns, and all those things impacting on the country, and this is about 52% of your country, the members of our country. Ma'am, what can you say, and can you just join us to celebrate these fantastic human beings, the cradle of man, people who take care of us, no matter how gigantic you are, no matter how your status are, you are once a baby in the womb of a woman who took care of you, and the journey is fantastically difficult. So let's celebrate our mothers. Let's celebrate our women in this fantastic International Women Day. And our theme will be to challenge. When we challenge, that's where come changes. And changes, it has to come. We have no choice. We have to change or we perish as a society. Let's celebrate our women. Mama, what can you say? All over the place, we have women that we can proud of. Can you help us, so that we can celebrate them?
Definitely. I have to start with my own mother. I think even my grandmother, the woman that I'm named after, and my grandmother on my mother's side as well, who is also a giant of her own. We celebrate Aja Fatmata Konte. Everybody that knows Bakau Wasunun Kunda knows my grandmother Aja Fatmata Konte. She was my mother's mom died when she was a baby, and she basically raised my mother. She had a stall at the market where she was selling, and it's from those meager resources that she ensured that she forced my grandfather to help her to take my mom to school and to educate her. So I like I said, I walk today because of or I'm here today because of these great phenomenal women. And so I celebrate my grandmother, Aja Fatumata Conte of Bakau Wasulunkunda, who took care of all of us. I mean, we did not know our grandmother. She was our great grandmother, but she was like a mother to us. And we celebrate her. We saw her struggle, and that really helped us. But she was also empowered, and she believed so much in the value of education. And pushed my mother to go to school to get an education, etc. And today, my mom was also able to do that for us. So definitely, we owe her a debt of gratitude for her foresight and the strength that she showed. And I also would like to celebrate, like you said, all the women in the media. It's not easy being a woman in the media, but they continue to persevere. I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to leave anybody out, and then everybody gets offended. But I celebrate everybody out there, and I celebrate the gender activists, the people who are working so hard, trying to do a lot in the country. I celebrate all of the women out there making a difference. Women waking up every day, taking care of their kids, doing everything just to make sure that they provide for their families, etc. And we have a lot of that, especially in the context that that women survive in Gambia. Sometimes, when divorces happen, if you're unfortunate enough and you're a single mother and you get to and you don't get the support that you need from your partner, then it becomes difficult being both mom and dad, and especially in the diaspora, that's very common. So I celebrate the diaspora women, especially, and the women in the diaspora are very close to my heart because I understand their struggle. I have seen them wake up every morning, look after their kids, take them to school, go to work, support their families, support their partners. In the diaspora, you can't sit down and say "Johma de pass" or give me fish money. A marriage in the diaspora is a partnership, and these women are so they are so I cannot express how hardworking these women are, supporting their families, ensuring they're supporting their husbands, their partners, etc., supporting their homes, their children, etc., and all within sometimes very challenging circumstances. So the women in the diaspora, especially, kudos and so much respect to all of you out there, struggling every day just to make sure that you keep it together. And I celebrate, of course, like I always say, the men as well, because we have, we have our fathers, we have, people like you and others who also support us. I mean, I think we are still able to fight on, to challenge, to be bold, to speak up, because we have people that are behind. Some men will just write to me and say, "We have seen what you're doing and we appreciate it. We have seen what is happening, but please, focus on what you're doing. We appreciate you. We appreciate what you're doing." And, sometimes that might seem small to some people, but to us, when you're going through these things, when you're being insulted, when you're being, vilified and everything, it's just that we appreciate you goes a long way. So definitely we have to also thank the men who also really stand up and say, we're here for you guys and we're supporting you, and go ahead and do your best and be best, be you.
Yes, thank you, very emotional, and I hope all the men will be part of the group, that are supporting their women, because you don't have any choice anyway. You and like you, Mama, I was brought by my grandmom. My mom died when I was only 6 to 7 years, just before 7 years old, and I was brought by her, and fantastically hardworking anyway, to the extent that I cannot believe it how she did it, and because when my parents died, all of us were given to her on top of her own kids, and so that's a pleasure, and kudos to my sisters and all the Gambian women that wake up in the morning, anytime Ramadan, outside Ramadan, the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, to work and come back and cook and all those things and contribute to the families and the kids and taking care of everything, about us. And fantastically, how can I forget my wife? Since he's an entrepreneur, just building an online business, ethnic guide. And as many people know, just coming from cancer now, just how can you just cope without somebody taking care of you in that situation for 5 years, for almost 4 years, and my daughters and everybody else. But yes, happy Independent Women's Day for all women, especially Gambian women. Mama, but saying that, in the Gambia, as you said, this would be a turning page after what happened in the last 4 years. Just let's confine ourselves to the last 4 years, because we don't even want to remind ourselves with the period of the dictatorship that abused people. But still, we have about I call this from one of your posts from Jundu Drame, who said about 18 cabinet ministers, only 4 women. Of the 58 parliamentarian, only 6 are women, 3 of who are nominated. Of 5 administrative regions, there is only 1 woman governor. Only about 15% of local councillors are women. There are no more than 12 women alicalos. There are no women chief. Never in our history we have an IGP, and who is a woman, and a governor of central bank. Never. Nearly all the state-owned enterprises are headed by men. More than half of the permanent secretaries and ambassadors, high commission are men. More than most of the head of the banks are men. It's just men and men and men and men. And we have 52% of our population. Again, every year, Mama, we have, this is 2000 statistics from the Gambian Bureau of Statistics, about nearly 600 women die per 100,000 in live birth. What does that tell about our government, our country, not our government?
I think it signals the fact that Gambia or any nation will not develop without the full participation of women. And the fact that we're still lagging behind, despite, and this is despite the protocols that we have signed, the international treaties that we have signed, advocating for the rights of women, saying that we are going to have a certain quota of our positions for women, etc. We are still lagging behind when it comes to involvement, when it comes to women empowerment. We have all the policies, and I always say this, beautifully written policies are sitting on government's desk that is not being implemented, especially the women's, the policy. When I was at Women's Bureau with Dr. Siga Jane and the rest, including the new women's, the Minister for Women's Affairs now, Fatou Kinte, we were all at Women's Bureau. I was there volunteering. We worked on the women's policy. We went from Banjul to Kwaina. We went to everywhere, talking to women, engaging women, finding out about their struggles, etc. And we have a policy that has been enacted and, again, not fully implemented. And there's a lot of things in that policy, if it was implemented and done properly, that would have really improved a lot of women in Gambia. But again, these are policies that are written that are not in any way implemented. And women continue to suffer. You see, when it comes to divorce, women suffer. When it comes to childbirth, to think the amount of people, childbirth is now almost a death sentence in Gambia. That is unacceptable. That is just unacceptable anywhere in the world. And some nurses will tell you that the kind of drugs that they need to save women, so especially people that are bleeding, it's about $2 or so to save a dying mother from bleeding to death. And still, we do not have the equipment to do that. There has been studies from MRC showing infection rates at the maternity facilities due to simple negligence. Just cleaning the place so that infections do not go from one baby to another is a problem. And, again, when you look at the parliament, again, this is something that we should all take responsibility for. Because if Mama Linguere stands up and say, I want to run for president, or I want to run for parliament, or I want to run for area council, it's again, even some women, some of our women folk who will also stand up and start questioning you and start insulting you and we have seen the massive, horrendous campaign that was done against Rohima Liklo on online media, the horrendous bullying all of us had to, some of us had to get involved and say, this is too much. You don't have to support her. You don't have to even like her. But please, let's stop this bullying. And the insults. It was just amazing. And the thing is, it doesn't stop with just insulting you as a person. And this is why a lot of women do not want to go into politics or anything, because they'll go into your family. I can remember seeing even people saying Rohim Malik Low was a certain tribe, and that's why that tribe, and it was just horrible and disgusting. And these are the sort of things that we continue to suffer and continue to hold women back. So a lot of women will even want to participate in a simple discussion on Facebook, but when they see people insulting you, people going into your private life, involving your kids, your family, everything, they hold back. Not everybody has a thick skin. Not everybody can take some of these things, and not everybody also wants their family insulted, and that's just it's normal. I think it's to be respected that women shy away from this thing. I think we saw the first lady of I think it was in Namibia today or Zimbabwe talking about this, and she said, why can't I not be insulted same as you would insult the women? I mean, the men. Call me an nincompoop, call me whatever, but why would you call me a slut? Why would you call me when you have never paid me to sleep with me, when you have never seen me outside soliciting money for sex? You're calling me prostitute, you're calling me every name in the book, and you're not stopping there. You're going and attacking my family, you're attacking my children. It's just disgusting. And this is why a lot of women, unfortunately, do not want to expose themselves to that kind of treatment. And it's normal. So, but I think, the more we engage, the more women understand that, we cannot continue to also abdicate our responsibilities as women. We cannot continue to say that because we are going to be insulted, we're not going to be involved. I think we have to be a lot more thick-skinned and a lot stronger than that. But I think it also comes from what we're advocating for now. We have to challenge the stereotypes, and we have to challenge the people who will come and insult other women. When I was getting involved, even in some of these things that I get involved in, I never fight people. Even my mom tells me this. There is never a single fight that I've seen you getting involved in that actually was your fight. It is always somebody has done something to somebody and you think it's wrong and you get involved, and then the attention shifts from even that person to you, and the insult and everything comes to you. And I said, but then if I don't do it, who would do it? If we all say that, I'm not going to help this woman, or I'm not going to support this woman because I'm going to get insulted, who's going to be there for any of us? So, it has to start from somewhere. And I think we're getting into a situation where women are now beginning to understand that we are stronger together. We're better off supporting each other, because what you're saying about your fellow woman, maybe the man that you're even putting in that position is more incompetent than that woman would have been. I mean, and supporting each other is just the right thing to do, and it's just the logical thing to do, unfortunately. And if we want to move our country, unfortunately, Ebrima, if we want our country to develop, if we want our country to move forward, we have to engage women. We have to bring the women in. And like I said, if they don't give you a seat on the table, bring your chair and sit down. That is as simple as that.
Yes, bring your chair and sit down. We have to challenge for changes to come. Men are in a very comfortable masculinity environment, and people don't easily give power, and unfortunately they are abusing it to the detriment of their self. My mama, but one of your posts, you said, that's in line with this. We thank men who have supported women to rise up to their power. And, you said that these men I call deserving men, and thanks heaven for such men. But you said most of our men are allergic to strong, resourceful women and will do everything in their power to keep the status quo, be silent, and conform to what they want us to be, whatever that means to them. Calling brilliant women witches and all sort of names makes you less than a man. Any resourceful and level-headed woman will desire what you were saying. We're saying, I know, people's comfort zone, especially their power, and dominate, to jump from whatever they want to be, at any time. That can only happen if people are not empowered. And anytime you challenge their comfort zones, they will come after you in all kind. But anybody, the feminisms, from the Greeks to the Romans to the Christianity to Islam, somebody somewhere has to fight, unforgivably before changes can come. But what can you say to our women? Did we forget? We have mothers. If we are insulting other women for just calling us to be equal, because can you just imagine we just calling each other to be equal?
And
And
Ebrima,
yes, go ahead.
Ebrima, let me just break it even there. I mean, I think even our men, this is where they get the mistake. When we talk about equality, when we talk about equality, we're talking about equity. We're talking
Yes.
about equal access to the resources that are needed. These resources is whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whether it's whatever it might be, scholarships to go and study, whatever it might be. We want equitable access to those resources so that women can realize their full potential. I don't think any woman wants to be given anything on a piece of paper or on a plate that they haven't worked for. And we have seen the likes of Treasure Women Warriors. What they are doing with the women of country is just amazing. We have seen the work that Aneta is doing, that she's doing with Sponsor the Girl Child. These are all women that are really making a difference. And it's unfortunately they do not get the support that they need, even from the government, etc. But these are women that are making a difference. So I think it's important that people understand that gender equity is not about us fighting with men. I have a father. I respect my father. I love my father. I have sons who I am raising to understand that they have a responsibility in this society to contribute effectively to the society. I am raising these boys for them to understand that they have to respect women. They have to support women because they're partners and equal partners with women, and they have to see women in that light. So we are not fighting over that. When I was married, my home was my home. When I come from my work, my home is my home. I will do my responsibility as the woman. I don't say to my husband when he tells me, oh, this, I don't say to him, oh, what section of the Constitution or whatever, like they would like us to, they think. We are women when we come to our homes, but when we go out there to work, when we go out there to seek resources, when we go out there to challenge stereotypes, those things are different from the person that you are in your home. I mean, nobody can legislate a home. A home is a partnership between a man and a woman, and this partnership is sacred, and it's based on their understanding and how they want to run their partnership. For example, today I heard you say something very poignant, and I would like to commend your wife, because obviously, being with a husband who is sick with cancer it takes a terrible toll on the family. But to have a very phenomenal wife like yours who held the family together and supported you, and today, alhamdulillah, we say kudos to her and kudos to you. That is what we mean when we talk about partnership. Partnership in your home is a sacred agreement between you and your partner. No government has a right to legislate that. But what we're saying is, if, for example, that partnership breaks down today, and we have to look at areas of divorce, of access to kids, of child support, etc. This is where the government has to come in to help the women, because most of the time, if they do not get the legislative help that they need, these men will try to get away with some of these things that are happening. And we see it in our society. We see a lot of single mothers struggling because the legislation that is there to protect them is not being implemented. So these are some of the things. And Ebrima, I have never discussed my own struggle, but I think when we say this year's theme, International Women's Day, is to choose to challenge. Everybody has told me before, stay silent. everybody told me before, do not talk about what is happening. Just stay silent. But I realized my silence is only protecting one person, and that is the person that is maybe tormenting me or victimizing me. So, so I would stand here and I would talk to women about their rights, and I would talk to women about a lot of things. But I had to make the sacrifice to choose between my career or being here in Sweden and looking after my kids. No woman should have to go through that. If we get a divorce, we were married before, whatever the case might be, the marriage broke down. I have a job in Gambia. And it's a high level job that requires a lot of a lot from me. To have a man, even when you're not married to that man, to say that you cannot live with your kids, to put you through hell of going to court. I am still going to court just to be able to parent my kids, to be able to have my kids. I have to choose between my career and my kids. No woman should have to do that. Every woman should be empowered enough to have a career and be able to be independent, to be able to take care of their kids. So today I might be a victim of this, but I do not pray to God that my daughter goes through the same things that I went through, to have to choose between a career and my children. And so I continue to fight. And it's not my fight alone. So when I fight this, I'm not fighting this alone. I'm fighting it because I realize that other women, the voice that I have, the platform that I have to speak, other women do not have that platform to speak. Other women do not have that voice to speak. And that is a blessing maybe from God or whatever you might call it. And I have to be able to give back some of those things to be able for people to understand. And Ebrima, unfortunately, my case is not unique. A lot of women have reached out to me, a lot of women, some of them in England, some of them everywhere around the world, who are really trapped in England, trapped everywhere. And we all know, to be honest with you, we all know that in Europe right now, you are far better off being in Africa, working and taking care than being here. And just because there's so many things that Europe, almost everybody says Europe is done. And to a large extent, it is true. If you have a good job in Africa, you're better off in Africa. Our kids have, I went to school in Gambia. I went to primary school in Gambia. I was at Latikuna Primary School. It's called Latikuna Danso. From there, I went to Marina. And then from there, I went abroad to study. And I finished my high school in England, etc. So when you look at that, the foundation that I had in Gambia, when I went to school in England, from high school to university, etc., it was like child's play for me. And it was because of the good foundation that I had in the Gambia. And that is what I wanted for my kids as well. I wanted them, my oldest son, who is 19 now, he went to Sibek in the Gambia. The kind of foundation that he had in the Gambia. Here, he's making, he's doing so well in school. And it is because of the foundation that he had in Gambia. It is because of that, we do not value even that time when he comes back from school, just sitting down with a Quranic teacher and learning the Quran and learning to pray and learning our culture, etc. That dara, just that dara for me is a big thing, because I want my kids to go through that. I wanted my kids to have that upbringing, to be able to understand their culture, to be able to understand their religion, to be able to know before they go out and do this. And so when I talk about women, a lot of people will tell you, Ebrima, and this is something, today you have a scoop, because this is the first time that I am talking about my own personal struggle. Because I feel that women need to be able to understand that it is not right for you to be told to choose between your career and your kids. We should be able to have men secure enough to support our careers. We should be able to have people, even if those men have a problem with our careers or us as women, we should be able to have people within our communities who will stand up for us and help us. And in my case, again, that was not available. There was nobody that could talk to him and tell him that this woman was not going to Gambia to go and play or go and be whatever. She was going to Gambia to work for her country. She was going to Gambia to contribute to the socio-economic development of the country. She was going to Gambia to be and to continue to be an independent woman. Because when he was marrying me, I was actually the deputy head of HR at MRC, and I resigned to come and you know and marry him and stay in Sweden. So it wasn't like he married me and I wasn't a career woman then. So, you know, these are some of the issues that us women, we go through. And again, you know, I have a sister in England who is going through something very similar. The husband took away the child from her. I have other women that are calling me, explaining their stories to me. We want to go and work in our country. We cannot because of this. I have a mother today who is not getting any younger. For me, everybody that knows me and knows my routine, even if you ask people at Social Security, they'll tell you that every morning I will go to the bakery to buy bread for my mother, and I will also buy bread for the team. And I will go to my mother's house first to deliver her breakfast before I go to work. So every day I leave my house as early as 6 o'clock in the morning when I was in Gambia, just to make sure I go get my mother breakfast, take it for her, and then I, you know, take bread for my team as well, and we eat together, etc. in the office. So all of these things are things that are important to me as a person. I want to have the opportunity to be able to help my mother, to be able to be there for my mother, because life is so short now. You never know when you know, you just get a phone call and everything just falls apart, God forbid. So, you know, I think when we talk about gender equality again, and when we talk about women's struggles, this is what we're talking about. These are things that women are going through. These are things that I am going through, that a sister is going through, that other people are going through. And, you know, they tell you, keep quiet, don't say anything. You know, don't talk about it. You know, so, and then when you don't talk about it, what happens is they perpetrate lies about you. So instead of, you know, instead of accepting the responsibility that I made her have to leave her job and sit here and look after these kids and not have a job and not be able to support herself, he will tell people, oh, she has a problem at Social Security. She was sacked at Social Security. If you go to Social Security today and tell them, Mama Linguere Sarr, they'll tell you even today, if she comes back, there's a job for her here. I'm speaking online. I don't have any reason to lie. The people, when I first came to that institution, Ebrima, it was so difficult because everybody had a perception about Mama Linguere or what I was. But I managed to walk and show them what I can do. I proved myself to them to the extent that today, the people, I'm not saying that I don't have people that don't like me, because that is natural. Nobody has everybody that likes them. But at least there is an understanding, even at Social Security, that if there's one thing you cannot take away from Mama Linguere Sarr, is the fact that she knows her job and she respects her profession. And, you know, again, here it is.
Thank you so much, Mama Linguere Sarr, for dignifying us with your personal stories. I've gleaned them within your writings. I'm scared to bring them up, you know, but for some reason you bring them. You are a role model, and Gambia is proud of you. Just imagine we have many of you in the Gambia, you know, shaping the destiny of that country. As you said, Europe is saturated. We are here to better ourselves and try and go back with those skills and develop our country, because there is nowhere like home. So if you see Gambians that are featuring people from utilizing your skills and your experience, your education to develop your mother country for the next generation, that's pathetic anyway. We have Anita Titela saying, yes, some of those policies are there. They are dumb today, don't implement them. Mariama Juara is saying hi to you. Lamin Janneh say, great, so we need a complete overhaul of attitudes toward women. They need to be viewed as partners, period. Khadi Jammeh says, happy International Women's Day. Or should I say, week, to all the amazing women out there. I agree with Mama. As women, we need to support and enable each other to have that seat at the table. And Mariam Bojan says, great, yes, said, and Mariam Juara says, Gambian women go through hell. And so many insecure men in the Gambia. Anita Titita said, same here. Schooling in the UK for me was a freeze. Mariama Juara says, thanks for sharing. Anita says again, yes, indeed, all sort of lies. And Mariama Juara, in totally unfair when men can just pack up and go back to the Gambia for work and their wives support them. And you say, I said, Dr. Jobs says, and you share it, I think, or you wrote it. You say women should be able to have a family and a career. Men do not have to choose why. Why should women? Unfortunately, in our Gambian setting, instead of supporting their fellow women to be successful, some women will help the men to make you choose between your job or your family. Don't worry, folks. I will talk about this very soon. You did. How blessed we are, Gunjur Online, to have you, to share your experience. Those who are just gauging you from outside should understand this is not only Mam Linguere's fight. I went to Gambia in 2011 and 2012 when my brother Ahmad Scottrell was incarcerated, and I worked there for Quantum, Quantum, yes, not QCell side, but the Quantum side for Mohammed Jah. And I enjoyed. I love that country. I want to be there, but my wife stayed here with the kids, So I'm pleading to all women, all men, not only to help them to develop and have their career and pursue it wherever, but allow them, give them time, to develop themselves, give them time to have skills and education, and this will help you. When I had cancer, I couldn't do anything. Whether you like it or not, the kids have to stay with my wife. Just when she's not prepared for it, how catastrophic that could be. That journey could have been my end of my life, and we have 4 kids with her to manage. Without the skills, how can she cope? Mam Linguere Sarr, but one thing I have to read this. You say Muhammad Aslan piece, and I like this, so that our this sabari, be strong, munya, dino lea sabu is because of religion and all those things is just common excuses most of the time. If someone just had a heart attack, you don't tell them have sabari, inshallah. That's what the imam say. He said, you rush them to hospital. If someone is thirsty, you don't say, make dua and Allah will bring ease. You get them a bottle of water or some Pepsi. When your mate is really hungry, you don't say, don't worry about it. Think the food of Jannah. You don't say that, You buy him some pizza. But some reason, when someone complain about being abused in marriage, we try to sweep it under the carpet and say, never mind, have patience, Allah will reward you with Jannah. This is not the way of belief. That's some of everything that we do as people. Allah will just take care of it. You will have Jannah in Arajana because you've been abused. That's a culture which is so unacceptable. We shouldn't do it. But you say, yes, go ahead, Mama.
I think families have a role to play in this. I think it's very important because when we talk about raising children, we say that it takes a village to raise a child. And it takes that same village to also hold a marriage together or even support women and do things that are equitable. And I think it's very important. That's why when I see some of these conflicts now within women, young women who are finding it very hard to cope with their ex-husbands taking their kids from them and treating them very badly, I always say, where are the family members? Where is the family members on both sides that should be able to at least also come and speak up and try and help to alleviate the situation? We cannot continue to have this sort of society where we leave people to suffer. It's not right. Like the saying said, if somebody is sick, you take them to the hospital. If somebody if somebody is hungry, you give them food. But it's only when it comes to marital affairs, if somebody has a problem, that you're told, oh, just be quiet, don't talk, just take Sabbath. And we all believe in God, but even God himself said, help yourself and I will help you. You cannot sit down in your bed and expect God to come to your room and give you everything that you need. You have to get up and work hard for it, or you get up and do something to be able to get it. So I think it's very important that we understand that women and even men need that same kind of support. And when we talk about women as well, we have to also talk about men. Like I always say, Ebrima, there are also very good men out there who go through a lot. Some men will contact me and say, I have been paying child support. I have been doing everything, but my ex-wife or my ex-girlfriend is still, denying me access to my kids. She's doing this, she's doing that. Those cases are in the minority, but they also happen. And it also, it means that, it's a struggle on both sides, both the men and the women. But I think it's very important that family members have, even if the person does not listen, I think it's important for you to get up and do something and say something and speak your truth to whoever it is. Because it's not just about, you have to also think about yourself and think, if this was me or if this happened to me, what would I do? So if you put yourself in that situation, I think then you would be able to advise you, even if it's your sister or your brother, that you cannot use kids to fight somebody. You cannot be derogatory towards somebody. And most certainly, when marriages break down, it's important to still realize that there was a time when it was it was a good marriage, when you had a good marriage. So it's important to know that you still need to keep that civil relationship between you for the sake of the kids. But when these things break down, families get involved, or families do not want to get involved, and then it escalates to a point where these kinds of things happen, and it brings a lot of animosity and a lot of problems for women, especially. A lot of the times it's women who are victims the most, and it's very, very sad. It's women that are told, just be quiet, don't say anything, just let it be, just wait, just be patient. We're all patient, but at the same time, I think it's also important that we give women the help that they need and the support that they need. It's very, very important.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mama. Fantastic. All over the place, across the world, everybody's, a lot of people are watching you. The comments are cascading. I have to take Fatumata Rahman Koka, say, women empowerment. Together we can. And Maria Masanyans when I have to take what she said. Very true. I had a book to spell out. I am tired of it too. Stay blessed. I had been following her since 2006. So, Mama, you see, a lot of people emotionally, you're bringing them out, and which is even good. And he's saying, Fatumata Rahman Koka is just saying, you look beautiful, Mama Linguere Sarr, and Maria Madam.
I have to say thank you to Fatmata, to Mariama Juara, and to
yes.
Anita. These are women, very strong women, and every time there's something going on, I think the first people you would see there's, standing up and saying, no, we're not going to accept you insulting Mama or doing anything. If it's not Aneta or Mariama, it's Fatmata, or you have Anna Sarr and the likes of others who are very, very strong as well, women. And, happy International Women's Day to them. And thank you also to Fatima Marong. I see her also watching,
Exactly.
I miss them a lot, my social security family. I think, we became almost like family because of the close working relationship that we have. And it's a shame that, again, like I said, I have to choose between my career or my kids, basically. But that is the unfortunate part of being a woman, which should not be. And I hope that the generations to come, including my own daughter, would not go through having to choose between her career, going and working somewhere, and her children. So we continue to fight. We continue to challenge, and we continue to be bold, and we continue to to support and empower our fellow women. Because that's all that we can do. There are a lot of women suffering. If I tell you the amount of inbox messages that I have, people explaining their situations to me, people asking for help, people just wanting somebody to listen to them, it's devastating. It's really devastating.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mama. I have to bring Usman Khalifa also. It's a lovely topic anyway. And Fatima Marong also. Thanks, Mama. Women empowerment. Together we can. Yes, we can. Mariama says again, Juara, thanks to true families have to intervene. But unfortunately, most families are only interested in celebrating your marriage ceremony, and when problem comes, you are on your own. We families are sometimes very, very biased anyway. Most of the time. And Mama, you said Gambian women are going through so much. Stop hurting women, especially using their children. Pregnancy, labor, and looking after a child is too painful to be taking people's children from them or using their children to hurt them. I'm not talking to all men. We all know there are great fathers out there, and talking to those that have no respect for their mothers, and by extension, women, and thus treat women very badly. Stop using children to make women suffer. It's wrong and a great act of cowardice. You say, press just a post, which is fantastic. I need to bring that one. But Mama, we will come back to them, those again. But what is happening again is a cascade, the compendium, the unacceptably, high number of rape in the Gambia. I'm just I'm just shocked because whether these things have been continuously been there, and we were not, because we are not talking, we didn't know they were there, but it cannot just come up by coincidence that within short period all these rape things are coming and coming. But social media is helping us, and people anywhere in the world can know, degradingly, how men are reducing themselves, raping kids, and sometimes nothing comes out of it. People just rape people and walk away, and they die and come and fraternize with the societies like nothing happened. And you said, I feel so sorry for victims of rape. It seems like everything they speak of, it's their fellow women who are the first to discredit them and call them liars. Watching the news in Senegal, I don't want to go there, but the rape, especially in the Gambia.
Mhm. I mean, Ebrima, if you look at the Gambia, a child like Khadijaju, we highlighted her case. Mama
Yes.
Sally has been talking about that issue and highlighting it on social media, etc. But still, there's no justice for that child. We have seen what's on Gambia publishing the teacher, the Nigerian teacher that was
Yes.
sentenced, I think it was 13 years in jail for
Yes.
raping continuously and repeated rape of a 13-year-old girl.
Mhm.
And yes, it's justice, but it's still not enough. The government has to do something to protect women. We cannot continue to suffer and not be able to do anything. And then when we come online and talk about these things, you're insulted, you're told you're lying. The person that is that is claiming or alleging to be raped is lying. Yet none of these cases ever even make it to court for there to be justice for these victims. And all the time when we speak up about these things, we tell people, even if you do not believe it, it is not your place to say you do not believe that claim. It is not your place, to discredit the victims. It is not your place to even speak about these things or to insult women about this. You should be able to let justice or let those people pursue their cases without our interference. And this is always what we advocate for. So sometimes we'll come in and say, don't insult the women, don't do this. And then, of course, they will come after us and start insulting us and calling us names and everything. But I think, it's something that we have to go through, because I think we're much older than most of these girls, and we're much more able to cope with these things than they are. So we have to help them in some way to be able to navigate these things. I can remember one time something happened online, and there was this whole issue about I'm coming out to insult these women, I'm coming out to do this. And I had to sit down and say, okay, if I let this person come out and insult these young girls and disparage them, and people jump on it and start insulting these ladies, etc., it's just going to get worse. So what do I do to deflect the heat and bring it onto myself, so that at least they focus their attention on me and then leave the girls alone? So we came up with a strategy. And it worked. I'm not going to say what the strategy is, but I think it worked. And the person, all the attention was then focused on me. They were insulting me. They were calling me all kinds of names. But, again, for me, when I do those sort of things, it's not because it's It's because when I think about those kids, I think about my own children, and I think about, if it was my children, what would I do to protect them? And I think every one of us has to sometimes step back and say, if this was me, if this was my kid, if this was my sister or my mother or anybody in my family, what would I do to protect that person? What would I do to help that person? And I think that's the only way we can move forward. But I think a lot has to be done by government in terms of legislating rape. And also a lot has to be done by government in terms of legislating also, or helping to improve maternal mortality rates in the Gambia. It is shocking. It is really shocking that, now almost being pregnant is like a death sentence in Gambia. So if you're well off, you go to Dakar and you get the best treatment, and you get the best help. And if you're not, then you stay in Gambia and your life is in a balance, almost is hanging by a thread, which is very, very sad.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mama. I have to read Fatumata Rahman Kokas. This is a pedophiles. Pedophilia is another problem in our society. Mostly our homes, and it is brushed under the carpet. That, which is very true. A lot of rapes and indecent things are happening.
That is the worst thing. We have a lot of stepdads that are raping their stepdaughters in the home. We have a lot of uncles that are doing the same thing in the homes. If you ask a lot of women, and a lot of women have come up to say that I was raped or sexually molested by my uncle, etc. It's very difficult to really understand the kind of problem that it is, even in our homes, and we brush it under the carpet. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to address it, but it's happening. And then, of course, when the person is caught, sometimes even family members will get involved and tell the mother or the father, don't take them to the police, because that will bring the family in the spotlight, and people will be talking about the family. But they conveniently forget again. We conveniently forget the victims. We always do that. We forget the victims. We forget, what these people are going through, and we protect the perpetrators, and we protect those who really should not get the protection or the support that we give them, unfortunately. And pedophilia is one of the problems that we have. Even at, sometimes you see, even, you're going, driving a car, and you see certain people with young girls or young boys walking with them, and you ask them, where's this person's parent? Oh, I'm supporting them financially, or I am. Even if you're supporting this child financially, that does not give you the right to take them away from their family home and have them with you in a hotel room or outside in the streets, etc. And these things are, government has to legislate these things. Just recently, there was a case of a little boy, 12 years old, with a woman in a hotel room. So, and you can just tell that there was something wrong, but a lot of people did not pick it up. Again, if government was serious about these issues, they need to come up with even guidelines for hotels. If you're coming with a child to a hotel, they need to be able to identify that child and get identification for that child as well. You cannot just walk into a hotel, get a room, and go in with a child as young as 12, etc., and nobody in the hotel questions it, etc. So I think we have to be very careful. And unfortunately, our kids, we have to be so vigilant, so vigilant with our kids, because there's a lot of things happening that we're brushing under the carpet, and it's affecting the kids later on in life. You just see somebody grow up, and then at some point they start to get these flashbacks, and they start to get these emotional problems and social problems, and then people will be like, oh, she just went off the rails or something. But it's because of what she has gone through that has made that child come to that to be that way later on in life, because she did not get this help that she needed. She did not get anybody to talk to about what she went through as a child. And so she would grow up, or he would grow up, and then that's when these things come out, unfortunately. And rape sometimes, especially pedophilia, the child can go up to the age of maybe 16 or in their teenage years. That's when the flashbacks come back, and then they realize that, oh, that behavior by my uncle was inappropriate. He should not have touched me in this way, or that behavior by my stepdad is inappropriate, or even my your dad. So it's very sad.
Yeah, men are reduced to being animals in the Gambia. I have a 16-year-old daughter. Just imagine, raping a 16-year-old, just like feel like I'm sleeping with my own daughter. These are pathetic. Hadi Modunjai says a marriage home should be an educational home where two people, let's remember, had been joined by what we call love, and those two people are from different homes. Would it not be ideal for all families from both parties to help build a marriage and not just prepare bride and groom for luxurious ceremony? Thank you, Ibi, for hosting the phenomenal lady, Mama Linguere Sarr. Yeah, Anita says, yes, research has shown that a girl is more likely to be raped by a person known to her than a stranger. And Madam Coca also says, please, people, share this a very interesting program. I agree. You have to share these things. Nobody should miss these educative programs. And Lamin Dabo, my own dad says, keep it up. Ma'am, I think you say the Liberian George Weah's action in Liberia and calling for Gambia to do that. I have to read that. President George Mane Weah has issued a proclamation declaring rape as a national emergency. And one, they said also the appointment of a special prosecutor for rape, the setting up of a national sex offender registry, the establishment of a national security task force on sexual gender-based violence, the allotment of an initial amount of 2 million for fund to beef up the fight against rape. Ma'am, do you think our government are part of the problem here when we have the proliferation of all these rape cases? Government officials are not talking about it. The judiciary system, if we are powerless, you have no chance of winning. The rape perpetrators like the Mohammed Kouar, aka known as Steph, who raped a 13-year-old boy, and he is back into the community. We have to blame the government for this, because at the end of the day, the buck has to start with the government. They have the power to stop these things or to reduce these things.
There was this guy who they said was mentally challenged, and he raped before. They let him out. He raped again, and the government is not still doing anything about that. There are other also cases that we have seen with people who have been accused of rape and still no justice for the victims. So what happens is it creates this environment of impunity, and that is very dangerous for both the perpetrators and the victims, because one, somebody can just decide to take the law into their own hands, and or two, victims continue to suffer. But we have seen, like I said, in Liberia, George Weah, really serious about rape, took those measures to make sure that rape is something that the government sees as an emergency. When you look at our neighbors in Senegal as well, rape is criminalized and it's punishable by a minimum of 10 years in prison. If you look at Sierra Leone, they also now have a special court for rape and for sexual gender-based violence, etc. And this is the kind of things that you need to do if you're serious about protecting women and girls especially. And even boys, because we have seen even young boys being raped by pedophiles and by people even in their families as well. So when you're serious about rape, you have to be able to really legislate and bring in the legislation that will help, but also bring in the awareness. Talk about these issues. Talk about rape. Make it a government policy that you talk about rape in the schools, in the in the workplaces, etc. So people understand and are able to help. But if we continue to just ignore this thing, it's not going to go away, but it's going to get worse. And unfortunately, victims will continue to suffer because they will not be able to get the justice that they need. So I think government needs to be serious about really legislating the issue of rape.
Yes, in the same line, Madam Coker once again asked, can you please ask Mama Linguere Sarr what her take is on lack of awareness on sex education in schools and from parents? What can society do to help create more awareness on these issues? Because this has to be a coordinated effort from our homes, where we created these predatory men that punch on little girls as young as 10 years, as young as 12 years, and destroy their life and continue to enjoy like nothing happens. Then what can we do as a society? Because this is our problem, this is our failures as a country, as a society. If we have the blossoming of men that are so hungry, that are so spineless, that they can rape a 12-year-old, they can rape a 10-year-old, they can rape a 15-year-old, even
Even
if
younger.
they
Even younger. There are rape of 3 years old, etc. Young babies even are being raped. It's very sad, and I think it has to start with education. It starts with civic education. Parents need to be aware of what signs to look for. What are the things that they need to be discussing also with their children? Unfortunately, we have this culture of not discussing a lot with our kids, especially when it comes to sex education, etc. It's to the detriment of those kids. It's because it's only when they grow up sometimes, and even in certain situations, that they understand that, oh my God, so what my uncle was doing to me was actually not appropriate for us to be doing it, because that's not how he should have held me, or how he should have put me on his lap and do certain things. So I think it's important. Civic education is very important. The way that we talk about the elimination of FGM is the same way that we should go to the communities to sensitize on rape and these issues. And it's the same way that we also have to have in schools as well, not only counselors to help the children, but also discussions around these things, around sexual reproductive health. We used to have that during our time in school. We had, sexual reproductive health lessons, etc. Now they don't have those things. So you're not empowering or equipping the children to be able to look out for signs themselves. And these are issues that they need to be able to look at. So I think, again, there's a huge amount of work that needs to be done. And government needs to prioritize the youth, especially. And this is somewhere that, we have seen all governments that fail. It is because they do not prioritize the youth. They need to prioritize the youth. They need to come up with robust, school curriculum that encompasses not just academic learning, but also these issues about civics. When you ask some kids even what the national anthem is, what it means to them, why the national anthem is important, these are the discussions or conversations that these kids need to have. Here and other countries around the world, kids as young as nursery school will tell you about the national anthem, what it means, why it's important. And sometimes I ask this question: what is the Gambian dream? What do we tell our kids when they're growing up in school? These are conversations that we need to have. A lot of progressive societies have moved from purely academic schools to teaching skills, IT, coding, etc., because they realize that this is where the work is, construction, etc. But we have, our curriculum is still rooted on basic and pure academics, and it's failing us, unfortunately. So I think we need to move away from that, and ask these questions about what sort of things do we need in the curriculum. And I think we have very good people like Anita and other people in education, Hadi, Mamgor, other women who are very, very dynamic, who can come up with helping the government develop a robust curriculum that would include civic education, sexual and reproductive health, etc., in our curriculum. And I think that will only improve the quality of education, and we're missing out on that, and it's really showing in the kids. I think these are some of the things that government, and I think when we talk about the diaspora, I think they need to be able to be open to the diaspora, to be able to accept ideas, not just from the diaspora, even people in the Gambia, to be able to accept ideas and suggestions on improving. Because I think, change and improvement is a continuous thing. And you cannot just say, oh, we have this thing cast in stone and nobody can do anything about it. I think we have to accept that every day we learn something new. It's a continuous process. Even us that feel that, oh, we are okay, every day we learn something new. And you're only able to learn and take in the change if you're able to accept other people teaching you. And sometimes we resist that because of our own insecurities, unfortunately. And it's to the detriment, unfortunately, of the young ones, especially the youth.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mama. And there's a lot of questions being bombarded to you, especially Madam Koga is just, cascading, a lot on different questions. But I will welcome my brother Lamin Boydinture. It's a great, so important. Khalifa Maman Cham is asking, yes, we are asking for both sex education and sexual abuse education. Anything that people are abusing and they feel intimidated or they feel ashamed that it will bring embarrassment on their families. We want to educate people so that they can come up, because naming and shaming sometimes can help, so that, some of the top people, might be they will not want, but, keeping quiet with these things encourages more people doing these things. And Maria Mastanya said, very sad indeed. There is a dad now who impregnated his own daughter, now with 3 kids, aged from 9 years to 1 year, and he is still treating the mothers, and is treating the mother, and now the daughters said she is tired and cannot marry or enjoy life. Anyway, so all along, these are some of the things that, Mama, you've been everywhere, because, I saw some of your posts that you were saying, Madam Coker says, women are also abusing boys.
Yes. The story that I was telling you about just before was a woman with a 12-year-old boy in a hotel, and the hotel did not ask any questions. So it's very sad. Instead of identifying the boy, even asking whether the person that was with him had consent from the parents, none of that was done. And it becomes, and like I said, if the government is serious about protecting our youth, our young boys and girls, they have to even have policies or guidelines for hotels in identifying these issues that could affect boys and girls in terms of sexual abuse, etc. But we do not have any policies. Hotels do not have any guidelines on what happens if somebody walks in here with a minor that you clearly can identify is not even their child. What do? It's just let them go into the hotel room with the person, and of course anything can happen.
Yeah, Mama, thank you so much for educating us. And if anybody blames you, maybe they don't follow your writings, or they are just viewing you from outside, because you've been all over the place, to fight against dictatorship, to fight for men's right. Because I saw your post where you were advising women to not be bitter if they fall out with men. Just don't leave them, go and find somebody to put that. Maybe you'll have a better person to put the ring on your. Don't expose your marriage things all over the Facebook. But one thing that one of your pieces that's so interesting is we are quiet, but it's time for all women to speak up. The trend of young women exposing their intimate text messages and audios with men should be condemned the same way we do when women are exposed. If he leaves you and marries someone else, move on. Find yourself someone that will appreciate you and value you enough to put a ring on it, like he did with the other woman. If you left him, then let him be and be happy that he moved on. Bitterness is not pretty on a woman or a man, and it's ugly character trends. Bitter people suffer so much because they wake up with hate and spend precious time of the day plotting people's downfall and being disappointed when those people continue to blaze and be happy. Wow. All over the place. Tell us about these textings, exposure into the Facebooks and all those things. That's why people need to read you. They need to know you before they join. You are probably a woman, a gender activist, or excessively being biased towards women, but all over the place, especially our young kids and our young sons and daughters. Go ahead with that texting.
I think we had a week of young women coming out because their ex-boyfriends had married somebody else, and they came out with exposing text messages and messages that they shared with those men, etc. And I think it's just as important when women do wrong that we address it the same way that we address it if it was the man that did that as well. So that was just the issue around that, because I think we're always out there saying, why are you sharing naked pictures of women? Why are you doing certain things to women, etc.? So it's only also fair that when women do certain things to men, we also come out and say, this is wrong, and we condemn it. So that was just the post about that, and just to say, relationships happen, and when they end, they end. I think everybody should just move on when relationships end. You really do not need to attack the other woman or release text messages that you shared with that person, etc., because it's counterproductive. It doesn't make any sense. And if you were the one that did the leaving, then just continue and move on with your life. I think it's very important as women that, in as much as we will support women, we will continue to empower, we will continue to challenge the stereotypes. We also tell women that what is wrong, and you should not also be doing certain things that would bring, like we said, the side down almost, because we have a huge fight ahead of us, and to have certain women or certain women doing certain things that really, if a guy does it, we would all come out and hang him almost. Then we have to do the same and tell them, what you did here was also very, very wrong. It's not right. And I think text messages and these pictures that they share is so intimate between a man and a woman. All of you should have the decency to keep it to yourself, because it was private when you were sending it to each other, and it was private when you were texting each other and talking and sending each other pictures. It's really none of our business. Those text messages or those pictures coming out on the internet, it's just not right on both sides, whether it's a man that did it or a woman.
Yeah, that's true. I think the indigestible women of our country should be confident enough, and we should help them to have the education, so that with or without a man, you can move on with your life. You don't have to get bitter. You don't have to. If somebody trample on your food, we can understand that. But if they leave you, just go ahead. You should be confident enough to be able to stand on yourself. But we need to give our women skills. We need to empower them, so that after 20 years of marriage, a man will not just come and say, get off the house or get off the compound, and there's nowhere to go, no skill, a lot of kids, no nothing. So in that sense, what they can do is to cling on to what they had, and what they built together with that man, which is not fair. So that's why we need to see how we can arrange things. But Mama Linguere, we have to go to the, are they poor or are they stingy? The Stingy Women Association, you lampoon them with all kind of, funny things anyway. It's brilliant how you deal with them. They say, ladies, please also be stingy with your time and effort. Investing in a broke man is better than wasting your time with a stingy man. Go ahead. Why is the man call himself I'm stingy? Do they want women to take care of them? What a world we are in now. But I love how you just characterize in a lampoon way, to create some fun around them. But they're beautiful women, they're beautiful men, and they dress well. Why do they have to have the adjective around their head that they are stingy? What are they thinking?
I think like we told them, I don't think they're stingy. Fatmata told me that you really planned for me, and she's right. I think you went through everything that I wrote and you were ready for me. So she's very, very right. But yeah, I mean, I think, we were teasing them. Of course, some of them are just broke. They're not stingy, they're just broke. But I think, chivalry, I think even us that would like to be called independent women, I think we still want to be, we still, want a situation where it's a give and take. You would look after your man, and your man will also look after you. And I think really chivalry should not be dead. I don't think men should be gentlemen and women should be women, ladies. that is just something that nobody can take away. So to see men using an excuse that I am not going to be able to take care of my woman because I am stingy, I am this, I am that, I think it's not a it's not a good thing. I think relationships are give and take. I think even a flower says a lot of things. A present for a woman, when you appreciate a woman, I think you appreciate your home is happier, definitely, and your relationship is also happier. So I think people that say don't appreciate your partner or whatever, those are the ones that really have a very miserable partnership, whether it's a relationship or a marriage, because they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I think it goes both ways. A woman who's cooking and cleaning and doing everything, I think once in a while for you to go and buy her a present to show your appreciation for the fact that she's at home looking after your kids, looking after you, etc. I think it's just basic. And I think men should be able to be chivalrous to do that, and women should also be able to do that if they can for their partners as well. So that's why I said the institution of a home, especially in marriage, is a partnership between two people, and the way you make it work differs from every couple. And that is not something government or anybody else of us here can legislate or even talk about. But I think it's important to understand that a partnership exists because two people have to work hard to make sure that it exists. And those two people, the work should not just be the women doing all the work, and it should not be the man doing all the work as well. That's why it's called a partnership. And I think we miss that when we think that we should not be able to take care of our responsibilities, both as a man and as a woman as well, or as an equal partner in any marriage. And that's why I say that, sometimes Gambian women are more fortunate because they will get fish money, they will be able to get, when there's Tobaski Eid, they will get clothes, etc. But if you're a woman in the diaspora, most of the time you don't get fish money because you're the one that's bringing that and contributing that. If it's Eid or anything as well, you're the one that is going out there making efforts to ensure that the kids have clothes and even your husband has clothes to wear, etc. So definitely the women in the diaspora go through a lot when it comes to marriage in the diaspora. It is very, very difficult. So if you do not have somebody that's understanding, that appreciates you, it becomes even more difficult. And I think ultimately that's what is ending a lot of marriages in the diaspora: the lack of appreciation, the lack of attention, the lack of support, etc. Is a problem.
Yeah, Khadija says, to put it bluntly, Mama, some men, not that they are stingy, they just wouldn't invest in a woman, and they believe to be independent.
They're broke.
Which
They're
is sad.
broke.
It should be given and take, every.
Whilst you're reading that, I'm coming in a minute.
Yes, so that's what is baffling me. How can the whole lot of a man will come out and put yourself on the social media and tell people we are Stingy Men Association, because you're running from responsibility. My poor grandfather, he will go broke. He will not even have money to give it to my sisters to cook, but he will hide it from us. He will not want us to know that, today he don't have fish money. So to see young men at this era to expose themselves in social media, that the Stingy Women Men Association, or some I saw a young man who was asking for women to come and marry him and take care of him. He's not going to marry any woman and all those things. If you want, come from Europe and marry him.
No, I'm looking for that guy. Me, I want to send cola nuts and marry that one. At least he's honest. So I think so he will come and become the house husband, and he will have the kids whilst I go and work, and he will support me.
If we do some cleanings and do some of the things, that he should do, because that's that's also
and then
important.
The roles will be reversed. I think it's a good thing,
And Mama,
that's why I said sometimes we need to invest in these people.
Yes, a mother, but if mothers are taking care of your everything, you should respect them at least, but you said, before we come to health, you say, Barack Obama was a lawyer and started his political career as a community mobilizer. He works his way through the ranks to become nominee for the Democratic Party and President of the United States of America. This is to our youth. Gambian youth, start your political career mobilizing at community level. Get into National Assembly and build up your experience. That's it. Because the kid says, if I don't have a job as a banker, if I am not at Ministry of Health or whatever, you just fold your arms together. You don't want to do anything. But life is a progression. You take step from one step to the
Ebrima,
go ahead. I remember, Mama,
I
was a voluntary teacher. When I left high school, I couldn't even take my results out because we didn't have money. My poor grandfather didn't have money. I went to the secondary school for voluntary teaching, and they gave me attestation, and I went to Gambia College. So that's the processions, where what I take, to be where I am today, even though I'm still in Europe doing jobs that are menial jobs. I can say I will be better in the Gambia. I think you are right to raise that people should go back to Gambia. I think some women and men will know that we should leave our men to go back to Gambia and our women to go and contribute to the development of our country. But go ahead, Mama. Advise our youths. What they should know. They should start from somewhere.
I think one thing is wow, but
yes.
It's one thing I think to be really I think the education system failed the youth to begin with. We have, like I said, we did not move from purely academic to also taking care of skills, and even looking at a place like GTTI, which is now being turned into a college or something. It's very sad because we need technical education, we need skills education, we need skills training. In Sweden, etc., like here, it's once they finish high school, they go into skills, into nursing, into other professions, etc., and they are construction, etc., and that builds the skills, and then they leave high school and they get jobs in those skills that they have learned in school. But what we have seen is that there's not a lot of emphasis or respect for skills. We have the Tafanyais of this world, the tough constructions. These are not people who went to university, as say, to go and learn construction, but they learned their trade, they learned their skills. But so when we do not encourage people, when we do not value experience as well, I think this is what happens. So we have an education system which is broken down almost, because where all our emphasis is just on churning out lawyers, churning out, and they cannot all even go and work as lawyers, etc. You still have some of them running into business. So we're not encouraging entrepreneurship. We do not encourage or respect people that have other skills like carpentry, skills, and other stuff. And it makes it difficult for people to also respect those professions. In Europe, a plumber is the most expensive you can get here. Mm-hmm. If you want to call a plumber to come and help you with plumbing in Europe, you will pay an arm and a leg. If you want to call a carpenter, so everything is almost DIY. You do it yourself. You try to do it yourself because carpenters are expensive. Even a painter to come and do a paint job for you is expensive. These are trades that are respected in Europe. Like interior designing. These are things that are respected in Europe. But again, we do not enter that. Even when our kids tell us we want to become YouTube, we want to work in YouTube, we want to become YouTube stars, we will not encourage our kids because we don't see that as a skill or as a job as such. But people are making millions right now in IT, etc., online. We are not encouraging our kids to go into coding and all of these things that are now the jobs of the future. So our education system is stuck in this archaic system of just purely academic, and we do not show the respect that these trades or these skills deserve. So the kids also grow up not respecting a carpenter, not respecting a plumber, and they do not want to aspire to be that. And they do not want to aspire to even work as businessmen or women, or to go into entrepreneurship, because these are not things that are respected in our society. So I think we need a total overhaul of our education system And that can only happen at policy level and at strategic level when we're thinking beyond now, when we're thinking beyond academics and looking at what skills we need to develop the country for the future. And what you, when you do that, then you look at your strategic plan from that end and see how you cascade that into the education policy to be able to strengthen those jobs, those skills, and be able to get people into training for those skills, etc. So I think the strategic thinking is not there when it comes to education, and it goes across the board. And unfortunately, like I said, we have the Anettas, we have people who are strategic thinkers when it comes to education, when it comes to things that will improve education in the country. And unfortunately, we're still stuck. In Sweden now, you don't see kids saying, "Oh, I want to be." Yes, there are people who want to be lawyers, who want to sit in offices, but most people want to go into IT, coding. They want to go into trades, etc. And that's what they're studying. They're studying to become plumbers. They're studying to become, And I say this all the time. You don't just wake up one morning and become a carpenter. Every trade takes learning. It takes skill. It takes experience. The Wolof will say, "Lord don talibim, Lord don sirinyam." You have to learn your skill and perfect it and make sure you have the experience to be able to really excel it. So I think that is what is needed in terms of really developing our youth. And I think, it's going to take a long time before we get it right, but we have to start thinking strategically now before it's too late. Definitely.
Yeah, Hadi Modunjai says, I mean to ask if civic education is still taught in schools in the Gambia, and she's asking about the FLE education. I remember, even me, I attend FLE, Mr. Sano at Muslim High School, even though I don't like the class. But even
I don't think it is, unfortunately. I don't think,
it's
and
not now.
even civic education, you
Yeah.
have to make people proud of their country. You have
Mhm.
to make kids from a young age appreciate being Gambian, appreciate understanding why it's important for them to be nationalistic. Those are things that you inculcate in kids from the nursery age upwards. You inculcate in kids the idea of respect, of valuing yourself as a person, of looking out for the other person, even this idea about bullying, etc. You teach the kids from a young age that you do not bully, and you also do not support or empower a bully. You help the person that is being bullied, etc. Kids learn that from a young age. Our kids in Gambia, unfortunately, they're not learning about these things. So when you ask them, for example, what is the national anthem? Why is it important? They don't know. Unfortunately, if you ask them about why should you not bully somebody, they don't know. If you ask them, if somebody sits you on their lap a certain way and are behaving a certain way, this is what you should look out for, and you should tell your mother or whatever. We're not teaching our kids that, unfortunately. So these are some of the things. Like I said, I'm trying to keep up with the comments as well. But in Europe, a plumber or a carpenter or whatever is expensive. It's something that you would not be able to afford. So when we go to IKEA, people like me, I come here and I spend the whole day almost just trying to fix a table for myself, because I cannot afford to get a carpenter to do it. If you go and buy a bed, you bring the bed, you try and fix it yourself, because you cannot afford somebody to come and help you.
Yeah.
So these are traits that we have to value, I think, to be able to move forward and really develop our country. And we have to make sure that we train people in these traits so that they become entrepreneurs, and they build up their enterprises and employ Gambians, and that's how you develop and grow your economy. But we cannot all go and sit in offices and work, because there's no capacity to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Unfortunately.
The skill shortage in the Gambia, I heard Tafanjais and all those things saying even bricklayers, they cannot have them in the Gambia. Sometimes they have to import them from Nigeria and Senegal. So there's no, when I was younger, we have a woodwork and metal work in the secondary schools. They're not there anymore, and government has to be blamed for this. Mama, I'm gonna round this up very soon so that I can leave you. You've done fantastic, but I have to bring health issues, because you've been sharing Dr. Njai's post about hepatitis. That is killing liver issues in the Gambia, killing a lot of people. The cervical cancers. I know the PVM, the human papilloma virus. They're doing the injection now. A lot of people are just don't allow their daughters to take the injection so that they can inject them, against the virus, that causes cervical cancer, the breast cancer awareness, and all those things, and what
But
you
that's
say.
because they haven't sensitized the parents. They haven't
Exactly,
communicated with the parents. When
exactly.
you want uptake on anything, whether it's a vaccine or anything, you have to talk to the stakeholders, and parents are part of that stakeholder group. So if
Mhm.
you do not talk to them, if you do not sensitize them, if they do not understand the importance and value of these things, they will not be able to, most of the time they will be suspicious of it.
Yes,
And
yes,
especially, even I would be suspicious if my kid went to school and they were given an injection without my consent or without even discussing it with me. So I think it's only natural that they have these issues around consent and suspicion about this vaccine, because the communication hasn't been done. And I think this is where government also needs to come up with robust communications in terms of the interventions that they want to do. Sometimes they have very good interventions, but it's the way that it's been communicated to the population that makes it very difficult for the population, one, to understand, or two, to be supportive of. But I think,
yes,
when we talk about health, Ebrima, that's one area that, if you go through my post, I'm very passionate about,
yes, yes.
because I feel that, the nation's health is the nation's wealth. And the nation's wealth is us, the people. If we are not healthy, if we are not able to work, then obviously the country will not develop.
Mhm.
So education, when health is just the basic that has to be right, we have to get that right. Government does not have any leeway or any excuse not to get the healthcare right, because that is just something that is so fundamental in terms of any development that will happen in that country. So I think it's very important, like I said, that they look at the maternal mortality rates, people dying from childbirth. It's just unacceptable. I cannot get over that.
Yes,
And
yes,
I commend the women like the Bali Chams and the other women that are standing up and really, fighting against this and bringing awareness around this, and spending a lot of time and energy and resources working on this. The Amijajus, etc. They are really women that we should commend for the work that they're doing around this. But I think health is very important. When I was in Gambia, one of the things that we were discussing and talking about was antibiotics resistance. You will go to a pharmacy or to a healthcare facility, and you will have a flu. A flu is a viral infection, and they will give you antibiotics, which basically cures bacteria, etc.
mm,
How does a flu, I can understand if the person had maybe a chest infection or something, then you give an antibiotic. But somebody that came in with a flu, instead of telling them that your antibodies or your body will fight this naturally, because you need to develop your immune system, and your immune system gets stronger by fighting viruses, etc., they will give you antibiotics, and that will really not help you, and it will really weaken your immune system, and you're then open to other diseases. And antibiotics resistance is one of the main causes or concerns for most of the healthcare workers right now in the country. They're
mm,
raising awareness. Again, I think government needs to help in the fight against this. um, you know Healthcare centers should not be looking at profit when it comes to people's health. You cannot be prescribing antibiotics and all of these things when you know that the person does not need it, because you just want to sell your medication. You have
mm.
to think about the health and welfare of the population. And I think the Gambia Pharmaceutical Company needs to come on board and really, start doing more inspections in terms of, seeing what is being prescribed for common things, common illnesses. In Sweden here, if you go to a doctor and say that you're sick, and they see that you have a flu, they'll tell you, go home, drink loads of fluids, and it will, your body will fight it naturally. You're not given antibiotics. If you will be next to your deathbed before you get an antibiotic, because they realize the 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 health implications of antibiotics and the resistance that is now developing. And that means that when you develop antibiotic resistance, then of course anything can kill you, because you do not have, then the antibiotic that you should be given to save your life will not be able to save you. So I think it's very important that government communicates this to communities, communicates this to pharmacies, to clinics in the country, so that they're aware that selling medication should not be at the detriment of your fellow countrymen and women. You really have to be responsible about these things. And right now, I don't see a lot of communication being done about that. And it's serious. Again, when you look at our health, there's a lot of things that could be done in the healthcare sector. When I tell them that when you go into the mosque is cleaner than the hospital where you should go to get treatment. Now, I'm not saying that the mosque should be dirty, and I'm not being disrespectful to any mosque, etc. But the way that they take care of the mosque should be the same way that the people tasked to take care of the hospital in terms of cleaning should be able to take responsibility. Because even sometimes when people in the diaspora put money together and they build new toilets and all of these things, still the cleaning becomes a problem. Maintenance becomes a problem. We have a serious issue with our maintenance culture. So people do not have this maintenance culture of taking care of stuff. Even roads, you will see a small pothole and they will not come and fill it until the whole road is gone before they even come and do something. So these are some of the things as well that I say that even the cleaner has a responsibility. You're being paid as a cleaner because we recognize that job is important. You are that cleaner in that hospital because you need to make sure that the patients coming in have a good environment that they come into. But if you are not cleaning properly, the orderly is not doing their work, the nurses are not doing their work, then it just cascades and nobody takes responsibility for anything. So, we have to really just cleanliness, basic cleanliness, we cannot get right in our hospitals. It's scary. So you will go to the hospital with something, and you probably come out with another infection that you did not go in there with, and you also have to go and treat that one as well. It's alarming, definitely, and it's sad, definitely. And when you have cancer, that's almost like a death sentence in Gambia. Other countries are treating that, and other countries have survival rates in cancer, etc. So I think there has to be this conversation around improving the health, because that is basic. If the government gets healthcare wrong, then everything else will fall apart, unfortunately, because I cannot go to work if I'm not healthy.
No. Healthy mind is fine in a healthy body. If everybody is getting sick and the altruism rate in the Gambia, people upsetting from the headaches and all kind of things is unbelievable. And definitely, I was talking to one of the sisters, who gave birth, and she said, the day that she did, she couldn't even have water to clean herself at the time she needed water, and when she walked to the bath to try and get water, the mess she said around, made her fall. She went blind and she fall down. She passed out, because of the mess around, because of lack of water and all those things. That cannot be acceptable. We are not that poor, but you talk about negligence. All over the place. The churches and mosques are cleaner than our hospitals. Everywhere is cleaner than our hospitals. That's how unserious we are. I have information.
And the hospital is where you go to get better. But if you go into that filthy environment, you're not getting better. You're even picking up some infection or whatever. And I think empowering the healthcare workers. When I hear people say there are no gloves, and nurses and doctors have to work under those conditions, it's not fair as well. I mean, how can you tell somebody to treat somebody when they're not even protecting themselves, and they can also develop anything from just touching that patient? How can you expect a doctor to do an invasive examination of a person without proper protective gear to also protect themselves? So I think when we look at this thing, it's a myriad of issues. Our healthcare professionals definitely are also to a large extent working under very difficult circumstances, and we have to appreciate their efforts as well. under very, very difficult circumstances sometimes, but sometimes as well, there's a lot of medical negligence which they could have avoided, and we have to also recognize that. So I think it's a balancing act, but I think it's important that we talk about these issues, and it's important that we continue to pressure the government to do something about this, because we cannot continue as it is. It cannot continue, definitely. It's very, very sad.
Yeah, ma'am. Even though people are just asking me to keep going, I can't.
No,
I
tell
can't.
them I have to also go to bed,
Yeah,
huh?
you have to go. Maybe sometime we'll bring
I
you
have
talk
kids going to
and,
school tomorrow, so I
talk
have to
about
wake up
health
early, and
and other things. You
it's
have kids there, all by yourself. Really speaking, I want you to give us your final words, and say hi to our listeners all over the place. And I will ask you, are you considering to come into politics? Because the amount of insult that you are having outside politics, is the same thing. We will want you. I know you are going to Bamsbow. We will see you in the Gambia not long ago, very soon, so that you can contribute and improve the life of our women and talk to them.
inshallah.
Yes, definitely, hopefully, and we will keep praying for you, so that you can be healthy and go back, and let's fight. And no country, all the countries that we are in and we are celebrating, they have to go through stages to be where they are today. And I believe people like you and many others, our country can be better than this. But before we go, I will want you to tell me whether you are considering going into politics, because leadership is important. We cannot only have women as cheerleaders and all those things. With these political parties, we don't have women leaders. All of them kind of bringing somebody to be their deputies, to win their dress things and all those things. Or probably, maybe you are considering joining Papa Fal's party, and somebody who is going to castrate men when they rape. So
I love that part of his policy. Definitely, I love that. That was, for me, that was like, okay, yes, I'm coming to support you. But I think when the time is right, we will make the decision. I don't think it's going to be forming a political party, because I think there are lots of parties that we can join and contribute. I don't think the saturation of political parties is the way to go as far as our democracy is concerned. But I think women should be, but I think women should be, empowered to really participate in politics. And I think that that is something that has to be done, definitely. So we might join a political party and yes, do something. But sometimes the work that we do and the things that we have to do is very difficult to be associated or affiliated with one party, because it will be very difficult for the other parties to also be able to work with you or trust you or be able to have that relationship with you. So I think it's a balancing act for us, for most of us. But we will continue to participate as much as possible in politics, because our lives is being run by politics.
Yes,
You cannot
exactly.
leave, you cannot say that I am not into politics, because everything around us is politics. The policies that determine our lives, our futures, and those of our children are actually done by politicians. So we have to be involved and engaged in that process. But so yeah, I mean, it's who knows what the future holds. I cannot say definitely on that path, but I am definitely continuing to be engaged in terms of the political landscape of the country. That is definitely not something that I'll shy away from. And I would like to just say, Ebrima, thank you to you. Again, I would
Yeah, Mama just freeze, and it's unfortunate, she's just rounding up anyway. If
yeah.
she is back, Mama, can you hear me? For
Yeah,
your
I
last,
can hear you.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead now. Yes.
Yeah, so like I said, I would like to pay homage to all the women out there who continue to really rise up and determined to really do so much for their country, for their families, etc. Who wake up every day toiling despite very, very difficult circumstances. I pay homage to those ladies, to those women, everywhere. And I pay homage to my fellow women who continue to stand up as well, whether in the media or on the ground with the grassroots women, really empowering, supporting, and empowering the women as well. I mean, we have a long way to go, Ebrima, but I'm very hopeful for the future of Gambian women. I'm very hopeful that we will overcome.
Yes, we will overcome, Mama. I can't add anything on top of this, other than the good comments that are raining all over the place. And Gunjur Online is indescribably honored to have you dignifying us with your dazzling talents and your unyielding energy, to fight for everybody in the Gambia. When we have it right with our women, the Gambia will be right. No doubt about that. Please, any political party that you are joining, don't settle for mediocre position. You have to be in the executive to drive their policies. We don't just want the status quo where women will come and be cheerleaders and they will not have no influence on policies, and their conditions keep deteriorating, and the men they don't have they don't have anything to give. Women have to demand this power from them, and we will have a better country and a better kids and a better society that we can all be proud of. If we read the history of Prophet Muhammad, I am having a program tomorrow, Women Empowerment and Education from Islamic Perspective, with Dr. Sid Ali Janneh tomorrow. We will know
that's
my
imam.
Yes, and I will say, please tune in. We will see. Yes, and then Prophet Muhammad is a feminist. There are verses and
Imam
verses.
Imam Sidi
Yes,
he's a phenomenal scholar.
Exactly.
Imam Sidi Janneh is just phenomenal, and I'm happy that you'll be having him on the show.
Yes,
well.
I'm having him tomorrow to talk about the International Women Day, celebration.
He's very progressive and a prolific scholar and writer. I think your audience will really learn so much from him as well. I have learned so much from him, both as my imam here in Gothenburg, and as an uncle, because he's very close to both my mom and my dad. And when I was married and I came here, they actually took me to him and say that I should if I have any problems or whatever it is, I should be able to go to him for help. So, and he has been very, very resourceful, very helpful, and very empowering. And he continues to really support the cause of women and to have so much empathy for women. I think you'll have a very good show tomorrow as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mom. I have to leave you now. I don't want to talk anymore. Anyway, I've taken you too long, So, thank you. We're so honored to have you, and thank you for once again for this fantastic educational, tour de force that you bring to this, and our listeners have enjoyed it. Once again, thank you to our technical and our boss who is behind the machine, and Lamin Janneh and Mr. Abubakar Janneh. Thank you so much, Mama, once again, and thank you to our listeners.
Thank you, Brian.
Sponsor a Gambian girl through SAG Foundation. We are placing girls on the path to success through education. Our aim is to realize a Gambia where every girl is given equal access to education to reach their full potential. This is how we do it through our model of affecting generational systematic change. This is Amy. She is not in school, an underprivileged girl excluded from school due to lack of financial support. The SAG Foundation enrolled her into school, and she is equipped with all the essential resources to have a quality education. Amy is now making a difference in her community. Amy is now contributing towards the generational systematic change. Education changes everything for a girl.
Agnic.com. Agnic Isles is a newly launched online store brought to you by Kadijaba to the Senegalan African community. Agnic Isles will sell all your Agnic products at a reasonable price, just under one click. Visit our friendly online site where you can buy products from clothing, groceries, fashion accessories, African and Caribbean food, all under one roof. Ethnic Isle is also providing a door-to-door delivery service to your families in the Gambia. Tell your friends and families back home, Ethnic Isle is here for easy and hassle-free shopping on www.ethnicisles.com. Any information, contact our friendly admin. We're here to help. Ethnic Isles is our own.